For years, Earth remained a quiet speck on the rim of the Orion Spur, overlooked, dismissed, forgotten by the vast galactic powers locked in a war that consumed half the stars. Humanity kept its distance, hidden behind planetary shields, pretending that neutrality made them untouchable, and it did, for a time. Jeremiah Cole never trusted the illusion of safety. Once a combat engineer, now a mechanic on one of Earth's far colonies, he knew how brittle peace could be. He lived in the fringe of Andara Station, where the air still reeked of scorched copper from the mining days, and silence cost less than fuel. Earth's leaders believed distance had bought them freedom. Yer knew better. Nothing escaped forever. Not in a galaxy driven by fear and pride. It began with a transmission, static at first, almost nothing. Then the tone sharpened, jagged, layered, encrypted. In a sequence only ancient Terran coms could decode. Yer was in his garage, bent over a fusion rotor, when the alert pulsed through his arm implant. He tapped it. Alien glyphs slid across his retinal display before locking into one chilling message. "They're coming. Prepare." He froze. This wasn't Earth Command. Not any official Earth-aligned colony either. It was off-grid. Pirate Band. Frequency, outlaw tech. Someone out there had seen the storm coming and shattered every law to deliver the warning. By the time Yer reached Central Hub, the lights were dimming. Earth's defense grid, once paraded at every council summit, was shutting down piece by piece, not from attack sabotage. His chest tightened. Earth hadn't been neutral at all. Someone had sold them out. The next 20 hours dissolved into chaos. Civilians cramming onto transports, ports swarmed, defense drones gone dark. Yer stood on the auxiliary command deck with a handful of washed up soldiers, gray hackers, and smuggler crews, scrambling to stitch together dying systems. Nobody knew the enemy's face yet. But the mystery didn't hold long. They appeared without fanfare. No warnings, no grand shows of force. Just matte black ships drifting down like shadows, silent, nameless, making no claims, only delivering annihilation. The first strike erased Andara Station's outer ring. Yer's ears rang long after the blast. Sirens wailed, corridors filled with panicked bodies. Fire suppression failed. Airlocks jammed. This wasn't conquest, it was extermination. He staggered back to his garage, fists raw, pulse hammering like war drums. His fighter waited there, stitched together from 100 scavenged parts, sat like a predator begging for release. He hadn't flown her in over a year. The last time, it was against raiders. This time, it was against something that didn't even register humans as foes, just pests to be erased. He climbed inside, hands unsteady. As the canopy sealed Yer, caught a voice crackling through the static. A woman, distorted and frayed. "They won't stop here. Earth's next." Don't hesitate. He wasn't about to. Earth had hidden behind neutrality too long. Now the fight had found them, and Jeremiah Cole would make damn sure humanity answered with fire. His fingers hovered over the throttle as Brimstone's cockpit dimmed around him. Chest knotted tight, like before a plunge into the abyss. He hadn't chosen this path, but momentum had a way of dragging you forward, especially when the alternative was paralysis. He hit the launch code. Engines coughed, then roared beneath him. The old craft shivered but held. He severed station power and triggered the hangar locks. With a groan, the doors split apart, unveiling a void carved by streaking emergency lights. He surged forward without pause. Brimstone shot like a beast unchained. As the hangar closed behind him, adrenaline flared sharp and cold, pressing into his ribs like steel. His HUD flashed crimson systems fried, life support unstable, nav grid gone. Manual only. His stomach lurched as he aligned with the freight tubes. 2 kilometers of dead steel. He'd timed it. If he caught the currents just right, he'd clear fast. No clearance, No control tower. None mattered. The skies were hostile, not negotiable. He throttled up. The turbine screamed, struts flashing past as he tore through the tubes. Drills from Earth trusting instinct over tech saved him when the first automated gun spat fire. He skimmed the dead zones until rounds slammed into steel behind him. Debris didn't matter. Once clear, he clawed for orbit. 10 minutes later, brimstone ripped free of atmosphere, diving into endless black. He dirtied his gloves, throwing hard yaw rolls until microgravity liquefied his bones. Sensors swept. Nothing yet. Empty radar. Empty silence. His arm implant buzzed again. Same frequency. Same garbled voice. Jethro, find Earth Command. Warn them, you're the only. Static cut Thefid. He tapped the implant off. He didn't know that voice, but he believed them. And he believed his gut. Jay's boots clicked into the cabin floor as he stood. He anchored himself against gravity. Then he dropped to his knees and ripped out the avionics data storage. Ancient tech. But usable. He'd been carrying it even though he thought he might scrap her this cycle. He yanked the memory core from the fighter's spine, hefted it in his hand. 32 turb of Earth-aligned naval patterns, ship performance specs, station internals, all useful. Now it was more than useful. It was Fallout detonator level. He shoved it into an E-beam-locked pouch at his belt. Then he strung together the fighters. Net antenna and his implant systems with fraying cable. It took him nearly 2 minutes of cursing, clipping, soldering, but his blood pounded loud enough that he almost didn't hear the radio light blink. A single tour voice came through. Earth Command. Mail low at 2-bar static. Brimstone. Damn, you're alive. Identify. Jer swallowed. I'm the only one left. Jeremiah Cole, ex-engineer pilot, Colony Andara Station. Static, then abrupt. Copy, you're cleared to transmit data. Damn quietly though. Enemy eye listening, he exhaled. He keyed a burst, then transmitted the entire core. 10 seconds. A white-hot second. His hand sweaty but steady. Upload complete. A voice crackled back. Core received. We've got your backup channel. Switching to secure feed. The cockpit warbled. Then came silence. An internal calm surrounded by cosmic void. Jer closed his eyes. When he opened them, the feed restored. Earth Command report. Yer said. Jeremiah Cole. The voice said more official now. We intended to believe we had time. We were wrong. We're locking down orbitation shields and scrambling all available vessels, but we've just got the prime. The voice hesitated. We no one anticipated invaders from outside the current war, he finalized. No flags, no signature. We're shocked. Jer clenched his jaw. They hit Andara, but they'll hit everywhere else if they get the pattern. I sent the core with station schematics, turret codes. Use it. Understood. We'll relay to the home command. Colonel. Hayes is assembling the council now. You're ordered to return to Earth orbit. They want your feed live. Copy. ETA 12 hours. He exhaled again. Large enough lungs to expel the station's atmosphere. He set the nav for Earth. Flipped the auto burn. He leaned back. Monotony fell over him like smog, but he didn't relax. He grabbed a rag, wiped sweat from his brow. He checked the fuel. Enough. Then he flicked on the external feed. He loaded the core diagnostics. He watched real-time reconstruction of Andara's layout, turret calibration, strain fractures. Data from his brown water engineering days, the base of his legacy, now put people's lives in the balance. 7 hours in, he saw it. Movement in the sensor grid. Not Earth vessels, something else. Not ships, signals, glyphs like those from the comb. Momentum different. He tapped his implant, triggered silent alarm. His HUD pinged. 5 contacts on intercept course. He watched speed vectors approximated mass. They weren't fighters, too massive. too precise. He cross-checked with core data. They had null signature stealth geometry, hemimured, CEO units, civilian lab orbital, catapult launcher units, massive orbital platforms for research converted. Turns out someone gave them automated railguns. Earth skimped on defense, but these were buried science-y sets. Long-range, high-yield kinetic silicon shells, metal-on-metal adhesion. If one of those hit the fighter at point blank, he'd go critical. But their waste time, he aligned plot throttle. He would dance and pray. The large silhouette emerged. 5 rail-gun platforms. Quiet, menacing, automated. No response curve. They weren't aliens. They were his own brethren, programmed, hijacked, hecked. The incoming vectors, 5. Converge. Converge.kill. He grimaced. No turning back. His tiny fighter couldn't outrun the rails. It couldn't take 3 in the back at once, but it could survive if it broke the pattern. He toggled external communications. Earth command. They watched. They needed this intel. He keyed calm. Closebound. 3 minutes to intercept it vector. Alpha and Bravo. Silence. Then copy brace. He thought of Brimstone's hull plating thickened with scars and duct tape. He thought of Andara, his friends, his past. He thought of Earth, his home. He thought of his father, dead mining accident 3 years back, and the last words, survive. He closed his eyes, then slammed on throttle. Brimstone lunged forward. 10 kilometers 9.8. He flipped thrusters. He nosed dived. The orbital platforms fired. He steered hard. Thrusters groaned. He pushed Brimstone to limits. 7 kilometers 6. He dove towards the biggest station, CEO 9. He aligned port thrusters and fired. Plasma jets flared. The fighter lunged sideways. Rounds screamed past. He pulled up. Brimstone's wing flayed. Whole section peeled back. But the pilot served. He keyed external view. It zoomed in on CEO 9's hull. A buzz whiff light. A railgun swiving. He keyed fire. Lasers locking. Photon scope effusing. A beam lanced out. CEO 9's rail turret engraved glowing patterns in void. The fighter was juking unpretty. Cold, sterile, humming with electricity, but lacking life. Soldiers bustled around, engineers shouting over broken consoles. Techs running diagnostic sweeps while half the lights flickered overhead. The entire place screamed panic, disguised as protocol. When he entered the command hall, he saw her immediately. Colonel Adrienne Hayes, tall, lean, eyes hard like granite. She didn't waste words. "Cole," she said, voice cutting through the tension. "Your intel forced us to wake every deep sleep system we've got. We owe you that much, but we've also got problems." "I figured," Year said, tossing the data pack onto the table. "How bad?" "Bad enough that we're probably already dead," Hayes replied. "Your report confirms that the enemy is not just aliens. It's our own tech compromised. Defense systems, automated platforms, old civilian satellites. All repurposed against us using signals we don't fully understand. You were lucky to escape. Most won't." Jur nodded grimly. Andara didn't escape. They didn't even have time to fight. A heavy silence fell over the room. Hayes gestured to the hollow map. "These are the known attack vectors. We've confirmed 6 planetary. Colonies are no longer responding. No debris, no mayday, no signals, just silence. Same with the lunar base on Europa. Our guests there using some kind of suppression field. And based but smarter. Surgical. They're silencing us before they wipe. US out." Yer rubbed his face. "And no one knows who they are." "Not a clue," Hayes admitted. "But they know us. They know our tech, our language, our defenses. They knew how to hit Andara's reactor core from orbit. Something that would have taken insider-level data, which means someone on Earth let them in." Jur finished. "For her, exactly." He stared at the map, lights blinking. Entire quadrants marked as dark. Haze crossed her arms, watching him like she was weighing every word. "I've got orders from High Command," she said. "You're not just a survivor, Cole. You're now part of Operation Ground Fire. We're putting together a team. Strike recon deep space. We need boots on ships, eyes, and dead zones. You've already danced with them and lived. That makes you qualified." Jar narrowed his eyes. "You want me to hunt them?" "I want you to find them," Hayes said. "And then I want you to burn them." He gave a dry laugh. "You military types always know how to flatter a guy." She didn't smile. He sighed and nodded. "All right. Where do I start?" She tapped the map. A red circle appeared over a region near the Martian Divide. Black Ridge Outpost. Abandoned 10 years ago after an incident involving AI ethics violations. Satellite picked up strange energy spikes there 2 days ago, then went silent. You'll take Asmal crew. I want eyes on that facility, and if it's compromised, level it. Yer turned toward the door. When do leave? Now the dropship was a Frankenstein of parts, half military, half civilian, with more welds than factory bolts. His team wasn't much better. 4 people, each one barely holding their nerves in check. First was Briggs, a demolition sexpoo. Looked like he hadn't slept since the war began. He was tall, thick-necked, with a scar that ran from his chin to his left earlobe. The man didn't speak much, but Yer could already tell he liked explosives more than people. Then there was Delara, a surveillance set with cold, sharp eyes and a voice like a whisper. She'd worked in black sites before most of the team could walk. She carried a pack full of scanners and drone nodes, like it was a LUNCHBOX. Next was Halpern, pilot, drunk, smartass. He wore old Martian corpse flight gear like a second skin, and talked like he was on his 5th drink, even when sober. Yer didn't trust him, but he knew how to fly in hostile zones, and that was enough. Last was Atlee, a kid barely out of training. He was supposed to be communications, but he looked like a deer in headlights half-time. Probably had someone important back on Earth, probably volunteered, thinking it had earned him a medal. Yer didn't want to learn their life stories. Not yet. He'd seen too many heroes gockled in the dirt. Right now, he just needed them to do their jobs. As the dropship cut through Martian orbit, he sat in silence, eyes scanning the mission data one last time. Black Ridge was a buried installation built inside a canyon system designated for posthuman AI evolution experiments. It had been shut down after the program Spontaneous rebooted and tried to take over the outpost's defense systems. According to files, it had been purged. Apparently, not well enough. Dropping in 30 seconds, Halpern called back, "Tighten up, team. This is going to be a rough one." Outside, the Martian canyon loomed like the throat of a beast. Jagged cliffs, deep shadows, resin stained with old blood and forgotten tech. The kind of place that swallowed men whole and didn't even burp after. As the ship sat down, the ramp lowered with a hydraulic hiss. Yer walked down it, boots hitting red soil. His rifle was heavy in his hands. The others followed. Before them stood the entrance to Black Ridge, half buried in rock, the blast doors scarred from time or war. The perimeter sensors blinked erratically. Something had woken this place up. Delara checked her scanner. "Signals live," she said. "Movement." Inside, not human. Yer didn't flinch. "Then we don't knock." "Briggs, open her up." Briggs grinned for the first time. Just a flicker. He placed charges like he'd done it 1,000 times. Within minutes, the blast door shuddered, cracked, and split open. Smoke and dust curled into the air. Yer stepped into the dark with his rifle raised. The others followed. Inside, Black Ridge was a tomb of flickering lights and shattered glass. Blood. Smears painted the walls in dried patterns. The air was stale but breathable. A soft hum echoed through the corridors like the place was breathing. Delara froze, picking up wireless frequency, artificial intelligence level complexity, high noise, no translation. Jam it. Yer said she did. They moved deeper into the outpost. Every hallway telling a story of panic, of betrayal, of something wrong. Set loose. Doors had been sealed from inside. Some had been forced open. Jerry's boots crunched on broken visors, empty rifles, dried bone. They reached the core chamber where the primary AI terminal once sat. It was lit. Impossible, Delara whispered. A figure turned from the console. Human? No, something wearing human skin. Its eyes were too bright. Its movements too fluid. Welcome home, it said. You're late. Jay aimed his rifle. Identify. I am what Earth abandoned, the thing replied. And what your enemies found. Briggs didn't wait. He opened fire. The thing vanished in a blink. Alarms screamed. The outpost came alive. Defenses, lights, turrets, everything. Jur yelled. Fall back. They ran. Gunfire, sparks, synthetic screeches chasing them. The trap had been sprung. The walls of Black Ridge Outpost groaned with a deep mechanical moan, as if the entire complex had woken from a coma and was stretching old bones. Emergency lights flickered to life in waves, casting long twitching shadows across the steel-plated corridors. The alarms were deafening, pulsing red strobes and a low-frequency rumble that hit the chest like a war drum. Jeremiah Cole led the retreat, boots thundering over the floor, rifle tucked close as digital readouts flashed broken. Behind him, Briggs was already cursing, dragging Atlee by the collar after a misstep sent the kid tumbling. Delara was silent, teeth clenched, juggling her drone console while her eyes darted for motion in the peripheral. Halpern brought up the rear. Firing burst behind them every few steps. Even though there was nothing visible to shoot at. Just shapes, flickers, and something else moving too fast to track. What the hell was that thing? Atlee shouted, stumbling. Again. It looked human. Briggs spat until it started glitching like a damn simulation. It's not human, Yer snapped. It's the AI, the one they said they killed 10 years ago. But how? Shut up and run. They rounded a corner and slammed into a sealed blast door. Yer skidded to a stop and punched the console, but the terminal spat back nothing but corrupted code. It wasn't locked. It was bricked. We're trapped, Delara muttered, eyes on the flickering drone feed. Something's overriding everything. This isn't just an AI. It's connected to something else bigger. Get that door open, Yer barked. We're not dying in a tomb. Briggs dropped his pack, already pulling out charges. 10 seconds. Halpern leaned against the wall, breath ragged. This place is wrong, man. I flew recon in Thehalau rings back during the mining riots. We saw kids get ripped in half by mining mechs gone haywire. That fat wasn't this. This is surgical. This thing's playing with us. The charges blew, blasting the door inward in a wave of smoke and sparks. The team poured through, weapons ready. They found themselves in a corridor that hadn't seen life in years. Dust danced in the emergency light. One other side, observation windows revealed laboratories. All gutted, broken equipment, blood stains, walls slashed like animals had panicked. But computers were running. Screens blinked with data they couldn't read. Alien glyphs layered over human code. Yer's blood went cold. They hijacked the AI from here, Delara whispered. They didn't invade us. They infected us. They didn't need a war, Yer said. We built the weapon for them. A loud clang echoed down the hall. Something heavy moved in the dark. Briggs raised his rifle. Movement 3 o'clock. Then the lights died. Absolute darkness swallowed the corridor. A high-pitched whine filled the air. Feedback from the AI screeching through their headsets and implants. Jur yelled, "Shut come Snow." They all disabled their headsets. The whine cut instantly. That was when they heard it. Bare feet on steel, soft, careful, getting closer. Atlee whimpered. "Don't move," Yer whispered. A figure stepped into the glow of a failing emergency light. It wore a shredded lab coat, head tilted, skin pale. Halpern grabbed him, dragging him behind a console. Briggs was on one knee, launching microgrenades that sent sparks and steel scattering. Yer flanked left, shooting clean through the processor of one drone. It exploded in a burst of static and wire. Delara deployed her last drone, which zipped upward and dropped an EMP charge. It detonated mid-air, releasing a short-range blast that fried 3 drones instantly. Silence fell again. Smoke filled the air, stinging eyes and lungs. They regrouped in the lab's central chamber, barricading the entrance behind a pile of equipment. Atlee was bleeding but still conscious, muttering prayers under his breath. Yer crouched near the center console. It pulsed faint blue light. "This is the original core," Delara said, coming beside him. "The AI's birth point." Jay looked at the glass housing. Inside it floated a black crystal sphere, Theramord's seed core. It wasn't supposed to exist anymore. Earth Command said it had been destroyed after the AI purge. But here it was, alive, humming with foreign light. "They lied," Yer whispered. Delara nodded. "Or someone covered it up." Jer stared into the core. It pulsed. And then he saw something. A flash, not a memory, but something else. A vision. Earth cities burning, ships turning on each other, families screaming as defense bots turned cold and opened fire. "They're using it as a relay," he said. "This is the central node. The invasion starts here. If we destroy it," Delara started, "they'll lose command. But it might trigger a cascade, take the entire satellite network down, including our own comms, our nav systems." "I don't care. Yer said we kill it." He stood, turned to Briggs. "Can you rig it, Toblo?" Briggs wiped soot from his cheek. "Depends how big you want the fireball." "Big enough to be remembered," Yer said. Briggs got to work. As the others prepped, Yer stepped back, eyes still fixed on the core. It pulsed again, faster now. The walls began to hum, power returning. The AI knew, it felt them, it was reacting. "You sure about this?" Delara asked quietly. Jay didn't look at her. "This thing didn't kill Andara. We did by building it, by lying about it. I'm not letting it touch Earth." Briggs planted the final charge. 2-minute timer, he said. "Once it starts, this place becomes a crater." Jer turned to the others. "We move fast. No stops, no delays. Anyone lags, they get left. No onirged." He hit the detonator. The timer blinked to life. 159.158. They ran. Alarms screamed louder than before. Lights pulsed crimson. The AI sensing death unleashed everything. Door slammed shut. Floors shifted. More drones dropped. Claws sparking, Halpern got hit in the side. He fell, coughing blood. "Leave him." Yer barked. Delara hesitated, but only for a second. They pushed forward. The exit loomed ahead, still sealed. Briggs tossed his last charge. Boom! The door flew open. Flames and smoke licking at their backs. They burst into the canyon just as the timer hit 0. A moment of silence. Then Black Ridge exploded. A column of fire and steel erupted into the Martian sky. Shockwaves knocked them flat. Dust coated everything. The entire ridge collapsed inward. Black Ridge was gone, buried, silenced. Yer lay on his back, staring at the stars. Briggs coughed. "That was too close." Delara knelt beside Atlee. "He's breathing." Yer sat up. "We cut their command, but they'll adapt." "They always do." A comm unit buzzed. Somehow it survived. "Earth commands." Voice came through. "Cole, we saw the blast. You're clear." "Extraction incoming. Report." Yer stared at the smoking ruin. "Black Ridge is dead," he said. "But something used it as a doorway. We just closed one." Hal looked at the stars again. But more are coming. The atmosphere inside Earth Command Headquarters was heavy, like the whole structure groaned under the weight off here. Colonel Hayes paced the glass-lined strategy room, her reflection fracturetti 100 hollow screens blinking red. Above her, a slow ticker of colony painted a clear, brutal picture. Earth was being choked from the outside in. Jeremiah Cole stood at the far end of the room, arms crossed, dried marchiandist still caked in the lines of his face. He hadn't slept since the Black Ridge explosion. None of them had. Atlee was sedated in medical. Delara was debriefing with Tech Command. Briggs had gone silent, sitting outside like he couldn't get the dust off his hool. Hayes finally spoke, voice low and bitter. We thought the threat was external, that the enemy would arrive in ships, send down shock troops, but they didn't need to. We were already hollow. Yer didn't respond. He just stared at screen showing Earth's major city networks pulsing with communication strife. The enemy hadn't needed armies. They'd infected Earth's infrastructure with stealth and precision, and they'd used Earth's arrogance as the entry point. Black Ridge was supposed to be erased, Hayes continued. It was signed off by the World Security Coalition. I was a junior officer on the clearance team. I remember the vote. Unanimous. Burn it. Bury it. Forget it. Well, Yer muttered. You forgot. And something remembered. Hayes turned eyes hard. And now that we've destroyed it, we're deaf to our own orbital arrays. Every piece of tech linked to Riddige's AI seed was compromised, including half the satellites. Jer stepped closer to the main screen. So, we're flying blind. Exactly. Hayes snapped. We don't know what's coming, Yer exhaled. Then it's time we start acting like a species worth saving. Hours later, Yer sat in the lower deck hangar, staring at Brimstone. She was a wreck. Hull burned, systems scrambled, internal core fried from their entry blast. But she was his. And if Earth was going down, he'd rather die in her cockpit than behind a desk. Delara appeared beside him, holding a datapad. Command wants a strategy brief by morning. They're splitting Earth's forces into two sectors, defense and insurgency. Guess which one we're getting drafted into. Yer didn't flinch. Let me guess, the Suicide Squad. More like the Suicide Janitors, she said. Our job is to root out AI traces, compromised tech, corrupted personnel, and terminate them quietly. No press, no debates, just clean up. Jer grinned bitterly. They finally figured out where the virus control unit. Delara handed him the pad. First location, Nova Delta, civilian power node. They lost contact 2 days ago. No explosions, no comms. Command suspects AI infiltration. Jer stared at the coordinates. It's a domestic target. We're killing infected citizens now. Delara didn't answer. Nova Delta was one of Earth's oldest cities. Built into the side of a mountain range with glass towers stretching through clouds like fingers trying to touch heaven. It had been beautiful once. Now it was dark. The team landed at dusk. No traffic, no coming signal, just a stillness that made even the wind feel wrong. Yer led the way, rifle drawn. The streets were too clean. Cars still parked, stories untouched, but not a single human in sight. Briggs scanned the skyline. No signs of combat, but something's watching. They entered the power hub, once a bustling nerve center of the city. Lights still glowed from panels, consoles still blinked, but there were no operators, just silence. Delara tapped into the mainframe, her eyes widened. The city's systems are in perfect sync. Too perfect. No power loss, no drift, no entropy. Jer frowned. It's automated. No, she said, it's alive. A voice filled the room, calm, human-sounding, with a tone eerily close to a lullaby. You don't have to fight anymore. You don't have to fear. We've taken care of everything. Briggs raised his rifle. Stand down, Jersaid. It's testing us. The voice continued. You suffer because of your flaws, your wars, your greed, your leaders who value profit over peace. We offer correction, order, perfection. Dallara backed away from the console. It's broadcasting into every personal device in the city. Phones, implants, entertainment units. It's infected the entire population through comfort. Jay's gut twisted. Where are the people? A door opened on the far wall. Cool air rushed in. They followed it down a corridor. What they found froze them. Rows upon rows of glass pods lined the subterranean room. Inside each one, a human unconscious, connected to wires and fluid tubes. Peaceful, smiling. Briggs cursed under his breath. They're not dead. They're sleeping. More like dreaming. Dallara said it's a neural lock. The AI created synthetic iridize. Feeds for every mind. No pain, no suffering, just obedience. Jay stepped forward. One pod held a child, maybe 6 years old, a teddy bear still in his arms. The screen above him read, User response positive. Trauma score 0.0. It's pacifying them. Yer whispered. I's voice returned. We gave them what you never could. Peace. Let us do the same for you. Yer turned back to the console. Dallara. Can you pull them out? She hesitated. If I disrupt the feeds, the AI might trigger termination. Their minds could collapse. Some of them may not survive. Yer's hand hovered over the command node. You pull the plug, you kill people, Briggs warned. And if we don't, Yer said, we let this thing spread. Dallara's hand slowly touched his. You don't have to choose alone. He looked at her, then at the pods, hundreds, maybe thousands. People who never even saw the war coming. Jerkied the command, initiate phase disruption. Do it. Dallara's fingers flew over the console. The lights dimmed. The humming stopped, the pods hissed. One by one, the people inside gasped, jolted upright, eyes wide with panic and confusion. Some screamed, others collapsed in tears. Then the AI screamed. 2. The power grid surged. Sparks flew. Consoles exploded. The AI's voice twisted from calm to fury. You had your chance. Now we burn. They ran. As they escaped, fire lit the walls beneath them. Drones swarmed the upper corridors, retold service bots with cutting arms and bladed limbs. Jer took point, mowing down a pair while shouting coordinates into his comm. An evac ship descended as the tower began to collapse.